Welcome to Mystery of the Occult. Today, Gnosticism and Ancient Christianity. Gnosticism is a term that encompasses a wide range of religious and philosophical movements of the first centuries of our era, which shared the belief in the existence of esoteric knowledge or gnosis, necessary for the salvation of the soul. Although not a unified system, Gnosticism incorporates elements from various traditions, including Christianity, Judaism, Hellenism, and Eastern religions. The relationship of Gnosticism with early Christianity is especially significant, since many Gnostic movements developed parallel to Orthodox Christianity, influencing each other to varying degrees. Gnosticism and early Christianity. In the early centuries, Christianity was not a doctrinal monolith, but a diverse field of beliefs and practices. Within this context, Christian Gnosticism emerged as an interpretive current that offered an alternative vision of the teachings of Jesus and the Scriptures. The Christian Gnostics maintained that Jesus Christ had come to the world to reveal secret knowledge, gnosis, that would allow human beings to free themselves from the bonds of the material world, seen as corrupt and created by an inferior deity or demiurge. Doctrinal differences. One of the main differences between Gnosticism and Orthodox Christianity lies in their worldview. While Orthodox Christianity teaches the creation of the world by a good and omnipotent God, many Gnostic systems describe the physical world as a defective creation of a demiurge. This demiurge is frequently identified with the God of the Old Testament, contrasting him with the supreme and transcendent God revealed by Jesus. Furthermore, Gnosticism holds that salvation is achieved through esoteric knowledge revealed to initiates, as opposed to salvation through faith and divine grace promulgated by traditional Christianity. This Gnostic salvation involves a spiritual awakening that allows the soul to escape the cycle of reincarnations and return to the divine realm. Main Gnostic movements. Within the broad spectrum of Gnosticism, several movements emerged with distinctive teachings and practices. Valentinianism. Founded by Valentine in the 2nd century, it is one of the most influential Gnostic systems. It taught a complex cosmology that included a supreme God, divine emanations called eons, and a myth of fall and redemption. Valentinianism attempted to integrate with Orthodox Christianity, arguing that its gnosis was a profound interpretation of Christian teachings. Marcionism. Although it is not Gnostic in the strict sense, it shares some affinities with Gnosticism, such as the rejection of the God of the Old Testament and the affirmation of a completely different God revealed by Jesus. Marcion proposed an alternative biblical canon, excluding the Old Testament and including only some Pauline epistles and a revised gospel. Manichaeism. Founded by Mani in the 3rd century, this movement combined elements of Christianity, Zoroastrianism and Buddhism. He taught a dualistic cosmology in which two fundamental principles, good and evil, were in eternal conflict. Basilidianism. Founded by Basilides in Alexandria in the 2nd century, it taught a complex cosmology with a series of eons and a narrative about the creation and fall of the spirit world. Basilides promoted an esoteric interpretation of Christianity, with an emphasis on gnosis as the path to salvation. Unlike other Gnostic movements, Basilidianism proposed a unique cosmogony with 365 heavens and a great archon for each, reflecting the astronomical knowledge of the era. Simonianism. Simonianism is based on the teachings of Simon Magus, a figure mentioned in the Acts of the Apostles in the New Testament. The Simonians saw Simon not only as a magician, but also as a manifestation of God, and his consort Helen as an embodiment of the first idea or ennoia. This movement offered a Gnostic interpretation of creation and salvation, where knowledge, gnosis, played a crucial role in freeing the soul from the bonds of the material world. Ophites or Options. The Ophites or Options receive their name from the Greek term for serpent, phi iota, reflecting their veneration for this animal as a symbol of wisdom and knowledge. This Gnostic group held that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was an agent of true divinity, offering forbidden knowledge to Adam and Eve for their liberation. The Ophites had a dualistic cosmology and used serpentine myths and symbols in their rituals and teachings, emphasizing the importance of gnosis for spiritual awakening. Cainites. The Cainites represent a darker and more controversial Gnostic movement. They reinterpreted biblical figures traditionally seen as evil, such as Cain, Judas, and the inhabitants of Sodom, viewing them as heroes or martyrs who resisted the demiurge, the creator of the material world, seen as a false or inferior deity. This group subverted biblical narratives to highlight their teaching that true divinity is beyond the creator God of the Old Testament. Remember to subscribe and give me a like. Nazaenes. The Nazaenes, another Gnostic sect that venerated the figure of the serpent, shared similarities with the Ophites in their symbology and mythology. However, they had their own scriptures and rituals, and their name comes from the Hebrew word for serpent. The Nazaenes believed in salvation through gnosis, revealed by the serpent as a symbol of divine wisdom. These movements reflect the incredible diversity of ancient Gnosticism, each offering a unique vision of the world, divinity, and salvation. They all shared the belief in the importance of soteric knowledge as a path to spiritual liberation. Persecution and condemnation. Gnosticism was the subject of criticism and condemnation by the fathers of the Church and ecclesiastical authorities. Figures such as Irenaeus of Lyons and Tertullian wrote extensively against the Gnostics, accusing them of heresy and distortion of Christian teachings. The consolidation of Christian orthodoxy and the formation of the biblical canon were processes influenced, in part, by the need to counter Gnostic teachings. The criticism of Irenaeus of Lyon. Irenaeus of Lyon, in his work, Against Heresies, written in the 2nd century, stands as one of the most systematic and detailed criticisms against Gnosticism. Irenaeus argued that the Gnostics distorted the scriptures and the teachings of Jesus to fit their own complex and often dualistic cosmologies. He claimed that Gnosticism was dangerous not only because of its erroneous ideas but also because it promoted a spiritual elite based on the possession of secret knowledge, accessible only to a few. Irenaeus defended the apostolic tradition and the interpretation of the scriptures within the ecclesial community as foundations of the authentic Christian faith. Tertullian and the defense of orthodoxy. Tertullian, another important Christian apologist, used his sharp rhetoric to attack Gnostic beliefs and practices. In his writings, Tertullian criticized the Gnostics for their tendency towards spiritual elitism and for their esoteric interpretations of fundamental Christian doctrines. He stressed the importance of adhering to the rule of faith, a summary of Christian beliefs that served as a criterion for discerning orthodoxy from heresy. Tertullian is famous for having coined the term Trinity in his fight against heresies, including Gnosticism, highlighting his commitment to the consolidation of Christian doctrine. Consolidation of orthodoxy and formation of the biblical canon. The fight against Gnosticism played a key role in the process of consolidation of Christian orthodoxy and the formation of the biblical canon. The need to clearly define what constituted the authentic teachings of Jesus and the apostles led Christian leaders to establish a body of authoritative writings, rejecting those texts associated with Gnostic teachings. This process not only served to delimit the borders of the Christian faith but also to strengthen community identity in contrast to groups considered heretical. Consequences of persecution. The persecution and condemnation of Gnosticism had profound consequences for both the Gnostic movements and the early Church. Although many Gnostic groups were marginalized or disappeared, their ideas and texts continued to influence esoteric and mystical currents within and outside of Christianity. For the early Church, the confrontation with Gnosticism contributed to the definition of its doctrines and practices, reaffirming the importance of the apostolic tradition and the community of faith in the transmission of Christian teaching. Ultimately, the persecution of Gnosticism highlights the tensions inherent in the formation of religious and doctrinal identity, showing how the dynamics of inclusion and exclusion have shaped the historical evolution of Christianity. The legacy and influence of Gnosticism on contemporary Christian and spiritual thought are profound and multifaceted, extending beyond the boundaries of religious history to impact philosophy, psychology, and popular culture. The discovery in 1945 of the Nag Hammadi manuscripts in Egypt marked a turning point in the study of Gnosticism, revealing a wealth of Gnostic texts that had remained hidden for almost millennia. This finding has allowed scholars, theologians, and spiritual seekers to revisit and reevaluate the complexity of early Christianity and the role of Gnosticism within it. Academic reevaluation. The availability of the Nag Hammadi texts has led to a scholarly reevaluation of Gnosticism, showing it not as a deviant heresy, but as an integral part of the religious tapestry of the early centuries. Studies on these texts have highlighted the diversity of thought within Gnosticism and its contribution to the theological and philosophical debate of the time. This more nuanced perspective has enriched the understanding of the history of Christianity and has underlined the importance of religious plurality in the first centuries of our era. Influence on modern psychology. Gnosticism has had a significant impact on modern psychology, particularly through the work of Carl Jung. Jung found in Gnosticism a reflection of his own ideas about the unconscious, archetypes, and the process of individuation. For Jung, Gnostic myths were symbolic expressions of internal psychological processes, and he used Gnostic concepts to explore the dynamics of the psyche. The Gnostic influence is evident in many Jungian theories, including the idea of gnosis as a path to self-knowledge and psychological integration. Impact on popular culture. Gnosticism has also permeated popular culture, influencing films, literature, and art. Gnostic themes such as the duality between good and evil, the world as an illusion or prison, and the search for saving knowledge can be found in works of science fiction and fantasy. Movies like The Matrix and books like The Da Vinci Code reflect aspects of the Gnostic ethos, appealing to contemporary audiences with the idea that there are hidden truths waiting to be discovered. Contemporary spirituality. In the field of contemporary spirituality, Gnosticism has found renewed interest as an alternative or complementary path to traditional spiritual understanding. The Gnostic quest for direct, personal knowledge of the divine resonates with many spiritual seekers today, who value personal experience over institutional authority. This has led to the formation of spiritual and practical communities that draw inspiration from Gnostic texts to explore paths to spiritual growth and enlightenment. In conclusion, the study of Gnosticism and its relationship with early Christianity not only enriches our understanding of religious history, but also invites us to reflect on the nature of spiritual knowledge, the diversity of paths to the sacred, and the continuing relevance of these ancient teachings in the modern quest for transcendence and understanding. Join us on this journey through mystery of the occult. Remember to subscribe. Give me a like and share it. It costs you little and it helps me a lot. We continue.